Rajeev Goel, co-founder and CEO of PubMatic. I'm here with Jason Jutla, head of practice, EMEA and UK. And we're here to talk about the digital advertising supply chain of the future, and in particular, supply path optimization, curation, and the evolution of the agency. Jason, tell me a little bit about your role.
I look after the practice teams, so channel teams or the buying teams. It's about how do we harmonize the group and the standards that we're operating for all clients and making sure we're raising the floor, but also innovating a single sort of innovation edge for the whole group and in service of our clients. So really making sure that we're standing up our in-channel activation as best as we can, but also starting to think about how we bring things together, how we have a single media plan, a single cross-channel activation that really delivers better outcomes for our clients.
One of the key areas of change in the last 12 to 18 months has been the rise of sell-side targeting and curation. We see that absolutely as a mega trend where PubMatic is a leader within the industry. What are you seeing in terms of curation, the shift towards sell-side targeting, and what kind of opportunities does it speak to in the future?
Curation and some of the work that we're doing with yourselves and partners in this space is enabling us to, one, clean up the ecosystem and get closer to the publishers. Bring in the transparency that we really wanted for our clients. The second thing is we reduce the workload on the teams, so we can start creating baseline levels of quality curated inventory that can apply to client sets, but also we can spend the time adding the layers of customization in audience or some of the other pieces that really start to move the needle in terms of performance. So really reducing the effort that it takes for us to get to quality partners and then making sure that we have that at scale, which has not been the case in the past.
Are you finding that it's easier to maintain that quality over time when you target on the sell side versus previously you were probably doing it within the DSP?
Yeah, that really allows the teams to do much more in the DSP than they have ever done before and spend time on areas that we classify as higher value, right? Like what are the creative? How quickly can we refresh it? What is the messaging completely well aligned with the audience that we're talking to rather than I've got a list of 1,000 publishers that I need to work through.
Right.
Again, I keep talking about scale. I'm thinking about this applying across all of our clients, not just one or two individually.
Jason, how do you think about the opportunities around commerce media, curation, and supply path optimization all coming together?
So we're working quite closely with you on Retail Connect, which is our proposition of bringing all retail data into one environment for insights, targeting, and for closed-loop measurement. Building on the bedrocks of curation of inventory paths, being able to apply that data at scale in this area, but then also to have the power to not only activate those audiences, but to then measure, brings you an advantage that has left programmatic for quite a while. We've lost information and signals in the ecosystem. And I think that being able to use retail data offsite in many different channels, particularly programmatic, is super exciting. It gives opportunities not only for endemic brands who sell their products on those retailers, but also for non-endemic brands. And so you're starting to think about the exciting opportunity all the way through the funnel. You're starting to put together real interesting pieces of measurement that can have a huge impact on our programmatic budgets.
What role does supply path optimization play for you all in terms of delivering benefits to your clients?
Partners like yourself, you're a real cornerstone of the marketplace. Now that we've done all the heavy lifting on the curation type work, we're starting to think about how we use open intelligence, which is our proprietary view of all the data sets. The opportunity is really to learn from the collective data because you can't always target all of your first-party data or a client's first-party data. How we learn from that at scale and then how we apply that through ID-less traffic using products like Resolve, which are really well integrated with you across the world. We start to think about contextual slightly differently, or how we ingest retailer data and build it over the top with these bedrocks of curated supply that help us to apply it at scale, find the right audiences, and then deliver the best messaging or personalization that we can.
Jason, can you share more about some of the benefits that you're seeing with curation as an agency?
Huge benefits. We don't have to choose between scale and quality. We're seeing win rates go up by 50%. We're seeing working media costs down 10%, and we're seeing our CPMs decrease as a result by 30%. Huge benefits that immediately allow us to reinvest in the campaign and to drive better outcomes.
I think what I love about that is it will draw more money into the programmatic channel out of the alternatives, whether it's linear TV, radio, social, et cetera. So really publishers in the open internet, they benefit from those types of ROAS metrics that you just mentioned.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a tough time, right, in the open web for publishers. Anything we can do more directly can only benefit the quality journalism or some of the other content that people rely on a day-to-day basis.
How do you think the supply chain should continue to evolve in order to benefit your customers?
I think it needs to become more transparent. We need to keep pushing the drive, right? Getting closer to partners and publishers, clean up the supply chain, make it more easy for clients to understand. But also, we need to continue pushing on benefits of scale. Curation is one way of thinking about this. We can realize some of our benefits on driving better outcomes or delivering better environmental goals, social goals that as a result of some of our curation. Once we start moving on this, we can continue the charge, better media, better quality, better effectiveness, cheaper costs. That allows us to drive more testing, more measurement back into the space that allows us to show the effectiveness of the space.
Transparency and scale are critically important in the open internet. One of the things that we're focused on is really how to simplify the supply chain in order to drive that transparency at scale. I think Activate is a great example of that, where we're working together with a client to buy directly in our SSP platform, which generates better ROI, more transparency, more control, more efficiency, and then they can reinvest back into media.
Yeah, absolutely. There are other examples like Resolve as a solution that we're working together on, being able to buy the 50% of traffic that routes through in some of these major markets in EMEA that route through Safari. Right?
Without a cookie.
Without a cookie, and being able to scale that and tie that back to some of the data, super powerful.
Well, I think Resolve is a great example of federated data, right? And so with Resolve, we're using data coming through the PubMatic platform in order to identify cohorts of users that would be relevant for a particular advertiser. And so we're really excited to work with you to scale that up.
We're definitely scaling a number of different solutions. As a media planner, I'm super excited by the levers I can pull to reach the audience and to get the insights of users that we don't necessarily be able to target on a one-to-one basis. Because one of the huge frustrations working, when I grew up within the programmatic world, is this promise of right message, the right time, in the right place, never was fully realized. So being able to extract and learn from the myriad of data that exists within the ecosystem, I'm super excited by open intelligence and what we're doing at a federated level. I think that's only going to give us more options to get closer to the consumer.
Jason, how do you see programmatic and curation evolving over the next couple of years?
I think it has to go where the growth is. Right? CTV in particular, we've got to really think about what partnerships and what public partners we want to be working with. Video has a huge mid and long tail.
Right.
If you think where the CTV inventory is programmatically at this moment in time, it's predominantly sort of the mid to long tail. We're trying to think through how our curation principles apply in this space. We realize in the insights from some of the federated learning models that we're looking at, we are in a world of hyper focus on moments and interests, and that's more fragmented than ever before. So being able to transact all the way through the line is super important. So CTV is huge, right? That's trend number one. Trend number two is definitely retail media. The proliferation of retail media networks this year is going to make things very interesting. We are working on a solution and we are scaling a solution that brings that all into one place that allows us to transact agnostically. But there's got to be a lot more work in that space because there's a huge variation in standards and quality that we really have to net through.
We're working together on the Retail Connect platform, right? We see really retail media or commerce media more broadly as a foundational cornerstone of our own growth, given dollars are shifting into that space. It's obviously highly targetable and addressable, much easier to measure incremental spend, which I think fits into the performance narrative on the open internet. Curation plays a big role in that. So PubMatic PubMatic is a Group M preferred partner. How would you say the relationship has evolved over the years?
You guys are a cornerstone of our marketplace. We started with curation of supply that gave us a quality baseline.
Right.
We're starting now to evolve into how we think about different formats and where we plug in. The most exciting piece is how we're using some of your technology to power some of our audience tools and tactics that are going to help us scale and shine a light into areas that we had lost the ability or control over the last few years. Examples being Resolve, where we're extracting as much insight out of the bid stream and some of the partners as much as possible to find greater targeting opportunities.
Right.
Retail Connect being another example where we bring all of retail data into one system and then be able to use that for insights, measurement, and activation. Using PubMatic has been invaluable on that journey. We're working on scaling in a number of different areas. So that's super exciting for us.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Innovation and agility is one of our cornerstone values. From a technologist perspective, it's really important that we lean into innovation opportunities and help you differentiate your supply chain as you bring that to customers to win new business, to retain existing business.
The agility piece is key. One solution is not going to solve everything for all clients. Being able to flexibly move and adjust our system on the fly is something that we really look for in our preferred partners.
One of the things I'm excited about from an agility perspective is the rise of AI, right? What are your expectations of how AI will change digital advertising, programmatic advertising in the next 1 to 2 years?
AI is going to help us move from a world of traders and platform operators into a world of platform orchestrators. So orchestration of the inputs and the insights that we can extract from our delivery. AI is going to help us automate everything in the middle. We're thinking about how we use one flexible optimization system, how we curate our supply and the formats and the options that we give the system. It's going to be a sidekick to the activation team that I think will help us to do some really interesting work. I have a vision of the future where instead of a trading dashboard, they have modules tell them, these are the 3 most important things that you need to think about your campaign in the future. I've readjusted your to-do list to account for these things. Here are some of the opportunities that we've already thought through before you got into the office. I think having those things at your fingertips is going to be amazing.
Looking ahead, what trends do you think will have the biggest impact on addressability in the next 12 months?
This wouldn't be a trend without me mentioning AI, right? The impact of AI on my team's work, but also the platforms and the systems that we use. The advancements are going to be incredibly fast, and being agile to account for those changes and testing some new things can be super exciting. If we're following the trends, it's how CTV starts to mature and scale. If I think about the EMEA markets, the markets I'm responsible for, the balance between high quality studio level content, but also how we start to think about premium but not studio quality content and how it balances out in an overall media plan. The last one is obviously the retail media space. And a prediction would be huge proliferation, but I think we're going to see some collapsing.
Consolidation.
Too much choice, too many different standards. I think you're going to see maybe what's played out in the US a little bit. Some of the biggies rise to the top, and then we have groups of partners who bring some of the retail media networks together.
I think that aligns very much with our vision and our work in commerce media, which is, beyond the top 5 platforms, how do you aggregate the inventory, the data, the measurement and reporting across really great commerce media platforms, but maybe don't have quite the scale that they would register for your traders to go in and buy. And so we want to surface that opportunity and bring that inventory to you.
I think that's going to be very interesting to watch and hopefully collaborate on in the coming months.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you very much.